That whole summer, I remember crying in the pool with my wife and kids. I had to wear sunglasses everywhere I went because I'm like, we're about to lose it all. I wasn't thinking about this as a trend. I wasn't thinking about this is going to turn into a franchise. I wasn't even thinking about trying to get rich. I was just like, I need to get the hell out of here and I need to do something that I would buy. People want to do business. People want to transact. There's money everywhere. Absolutely. There's opportunity everywhere, but it also starts with you, right? So you have to be the obvious choice. Most people don't make it that far because they don't have the resiliency to stay on long enough to reap the reward.
LFG fam, we just shot a fucking banger right now. I can't wait till you hear this shit. It's like next level. No one's talking about this. Shout out to our sponsors, because without them, this shit wouldn't be possible. Shout out to Ringba. Shout out to Adam Young, the paper call revolution. There's big, big money in paper call, whether you're someone who's a novice looking to get into it, whether you're someone who's already doing it, putting up big numbers. Let's fucking do this, guys. Get the fucking book on Amazon. We're going to drop a link here. Take your shit to the next level. Let's fucking go. Welcome to another episode of the LFG Let's Fucking Go show, where we're talking to movers and shakers in all sorts of industries, making big things happen. Today, I have a guest that I'm really excited to have on board. It's the first time we meet, but one of our friends, Brendan, connected us, and super excited because he's a mover and shaker in the health and wellness, anti-aging space. I'm a big believer in health and wellness. I've been taking care of my health for maybe 17, 18 years, and I believe health is wealth, right? So the more healthier you are, the more money you can make, the more energy you have. Energy is a currency. So I'm excited to have my man, Carlton Washington. He is the co-founder of Forever Young. They're a leading anti-aging medical spa, and all over America. They're making big things happen. So excited to have you on the show, man.
Thank you, bro. Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks
Appreciate
for being here.
Yeah.
So as I said earlier, I'm very passionate about health and wellness. You know, what got you into this space, man?
So yeah, first and foremost, thanks for having me. I do appreciate this. And shout out to Brendan, making the world much smaller with all his connections. I got into this business, I always tell people, out of desperation. I got into this business as someone who was really in a depressed state. And so I always tell a story. I'll try to make it short, but I came back to South Florida after a long, long time of not ever wanting to come back here. I went to high school here. I had moved to Atlanta at the time after school, and I'm working there and I'm comfortable. And my wife comes home one day because she moved to Atlanta. She was, we got married there, and she comes to me one day and she's like, "Hey, I like for you to kind of support my career now and support me. And there's a opening for a job at my company that's really going to be, a big step up for me. Would you support it if I go out for this job?" And I'm like, "Oh man, I gotta be less selfish and selfless." So I'm like, "Look, you supported me, fine, but you got to ask for all these different stipulations." And I gave her a bunch, thinking in the back of my head, they're not going to say yes to this stuff. She comes back home the next week. She's like, "Well, they said yes."
Wow.
I'm like, "How long do you have?" She's like, 30 days, and I got to go. So 30 days comes around, she's out, my son's out, and I'm there by myself in Atlanta trying to figure out how to get down to South Florida. And so I'm applying for jobs. Mind you, I have a ton of credentials, master's degree, graduate degree. I'm a high performer at all my jobs, and I can't get a job to save my life in South Florida. So I'm getting desperate. And finally, I agree to take a step back in my career, go back into banking and the retail side of the bank, to take a job just to get down with my family. And so I do that thinking that this is going to be okay. And the first day I started the job and I put on that suit, which I hated, it wasn't okay. It wasn't okay at all. And I started showing up every day. And every morning that I'd wake up, I'm sitting on the side of the bed and I look like a depression commercial. I'm in my boxers. I got my head in my hands. I'm about to cry literally every morning because I can't believe this is the situation I'm in at 34 years old. I never saw myself doing this. And my supervisor was just like from hell. And so every day I went in, I was like, "What are you going to do? What are you going to do?" And I told my wife, I was like, "Look, I'm just going to have to go and like rent jet skis on the beach, or there's a place called Mangoes in Miami." Like I was, into fitness at the time. I was like, "I'm going to go dance." They let guys like dance on the bar or whatever. I was like, "I'm just going to go down there. Those guys are making like a G a night or whatever.
Wow.
I'm just going to go down there."
I had no idea they could make that much money doing that there.
Oh yeah, they're making money. They're all pooling tips and stuff. And I was like, "I'm just going to go do that. Anything but this." And so along the way, I had a guy that was across the street from me, And he was always coming in and giving me like $500 every week to like buy my staff lunch. And I'm like, why are you doing this? He's like, bro, I'm just making so much money. It's like hand over fist. And so we got to talking. I was like, well, what do you do? He's like, well, I owned a compound pharmacy, but I used to own a testosterone clinic and I sold that to open my compound pharmacy. And I was like, well, interesting. I was like, well, I'm on testosterone and I haven't found a good place here. Maybe I should look into that. He's like, well, if you do that, he's like, you need to make sure that you have at least 50 people out the gate that are going to be able to support you. And I'm like, well, damn. I just moved here. I don't know 50 people. And so I started getting just really into this idea. And so all of my clients, I would sit there and interview them about their businesses, doctors, people in our industry. I'd be taking notes, putting it into a business plan. And I couldn't get out of my head. I was like, I don't know 50 people. And so I happened to be training for a bodybuilding competition. And I happened to have found a coach who was very popular. He was a bodybuilding pro. And he was very well connected in the fitness space. So one day I just had enough. And I was like, hey man, can you meet me at Starbucks? And he was like, for what? Like, we're not friends or anything. I met this guy like a month and a half ago. And I was just like, I need to talk to you, man. I got an idea about something I want to run by you. He's like, well, I got my son with me. I was like, just bring your son, meet me at Starbucks. And so I ran down to the Starbucks. He's there. And I'm like, hey dude, we take a look at this. I got an idea and I think this is going to work, but I need somebody like you. I see that you have these connections. You know these people. Would you want to do this? He's like, okay. He's just like, okay.
Wow. That's crazy.
We didn't know each other or anything like that. And so the next week we hit the ground, started looking for real estate. And 4 or 5 months later, we were open by August 4th of 2014. And we just hit the ground running.
So is this your business partner now?
Yes, it is.
I was going to ask you about that too, because I have a business partner and I was asking, what the pros and cons, like how does that benefit you with that? But that's just amazing what do you think sold him on the idea? Because it's pretty rare that you can get somebody to take a leap of faith like that on you. I mean, what do you think it was? I mean, was it a great presentation? Was it the emotion? Like what caused that to happen so fast?
I think it's all those things. I will let him tell it, but I think it's all those things. I mean, here's the thing I've learned right now. People want to do business. People want to transact. There's money everywhere.
Yeah,
there's opportunity everywhere, but it also starts with you, right? So you have to be the obvious choice. And I had an employee in mind that really kind of taught me this actually. You need to be the obvious choice, meaning that you need to come across as somebody that's credible, that's valid, and that people trust. And so I think the passion of my situation was coming through. Like, bro, I would do anything to get out of that bank. Anything. And so I think you could feel that. I came with a plan. So I didn't have it written on a napkin. I had a plan. And then on top of that, I think there's also what I'm now calling universal law and a spiritual side to it as well, which it's weird. I found out later we also started going to the same church and didn't even know it at the same time. But it's not a religious thing. What I'm saying is that it was the right place, the right time, and there was the right time for both of us. He was in a place in his life where I don't think he had anything to lose. And I was in a place at my life, I didn't have anything to lose. So like if someone comes and presents something like that to you, what's really your downside? And he's very analytical. So at most other times in his life, and he says this, most of the time that answer would have been no. For some reason that day, it was yes. And it just happened. And it was just the perfect timing and opportunity.
That's super inspiring, man, because what I find amazing is that med spas are really hot right now, right? It feels like, especially here in the Southern Florida area, you see them in New York, anywhere where there's good money and there's a good local economy. People care about their appearance. You look good. People still trust you more, right? People are doing those dental implants right now. That's what's hot. So it seems like that's been going on for a long time. But you got into this space, 2014, right?
2014.
So I was going to ask you, I'm in the digital marketing space. We're always looking for what we call verticals. I saw where solar was going in 2015. I started a solar marketing company. Did very well for me. We were one of the top 5 in the country doing that. But so I saw a trend, right? Before it became really, really big and adoptable. So what would you say, how did you realize that this is going to be the future? Or did you know it was going to be the future? Like you must have done some sort of research, right?
No, absolutely not. And that's the thing I was telling you before. I've actually learned this myself. I'm obsessed with investing now. I've always kind of been, but I'm obsessed with investing. And over the last 10 years with this business, and I tell franchisees this as well, like you can't necessarily time everything, right? You just have to kind of go and put your all into it. And for me, I wasn't thinking about this as a trend. I wasn't thinking about this is going to turn into a franchise. I wasn't even thinking about trying to get rich. I was just like, I need to get the hell out of here, and I need to do something that I would buy. I'm the patient.
Sure, yeah.
I need to do something that I believe in. So like when I used to sell cars, I started out selling cars for Nissan. I happened to have driven a Nissan. I would have driven a Nissan at the time, so I could sell Nissans, and I did very well selling Nissans. So. Why? Because when I met with people and I talked to them, I'm buying the car with you. I would buy this car. This is a better car. This is a good deal. And so they believe me. It's the same thing with this. I'm on testosterone. It's changed my life. It's changed my friend's life. I can stand behind this. And so that's what it was. And so I don't think I didn't know anything about a trend. I just knew that what this did for me, if I could tell other people and they could experience it as well, that I think we'd be okay.
Yeah, so you're like essentially like a walking billboard, right? I mean, it's working for you. They see the results. You're in good shape, right?
We were in the best shape of our lives. My like I said before, my partner was like Mr. USA,
wow,
like walking around at 5-6% body fat at all times.
Right.
And then I got on his plan, and I'm walking around at 7-8% body fat everywhere we go. And so he and I are walking into rooms, and he's like, into like designer clothes and stuff like that. So like, I'm like the shorts and flip flops guy. He's like, hey man, I think you should like, go see my girl over at Nordstrom's, go get some shoes, blah, blah. So me and him were walking in well dressed, great physiques, and super passionate about what we do. Not to mention we're super hungry because we're not getting paid well.
Yep.
We're making like $200 a week. Mm-hmm. So like all of that, when you meet somebody like that, you're going to listen to what we have to say. And that caught on quite well. And so, but we weren't acting. We were just being ourselves, and people trusted and believed in that.
And I think that's the power of authenticity, right? You're not trying to sell a product you don't believe in. Because I think especially us, we get like a bullshit detector, right? You've been doing business for so long that this guy doesn't believe in what the hell they're pitching. Like, fuck this person. You're not going to fuck with them, right? But if you're using the product and you're a walking billboard, I mean, you're going to attract that. It's going to come to you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so there's no timing. And even right now, it's like, you're trying to time investments. You're trying to time businesses. You're trying to time real estate. Very rarely do people like really hit on that. What I'm seeing is like a lot of people like, you throw stuff up against the wall and then something hits. As long as you're participating in the game, you're giving yourself a better chance of something hit. But if you're on the sidelines,
absolutely,
there's no opportunity there. So some people might call it lucky, but at the same time, I think if we were just selling like elite bottled water out of that office, I think we would have been successful because we would have just pushed it that hard.
Yeah, you would have figured it out.
Yeah.
So I saw something on your website where it said that, I hope I get this right, in the Southern Florida area, there's 7 times more Google searches for anti-aging. Is that the stat, anti-aging or, med spas or whatever? So I would have thought that maybe that was part of you jumping on this trend, but I think that, the harder you work, the luckier you get, right? So you happen to be in a location, probably somewhere in America, like Southern Florida, where people care about the health. They care about how they look, but more so than other parts of the country. So you pretty much created your own luck, man. And look what's happened.
We're part of that. We're all part of that. I mean, we cared about how we look. And so we're attracting other people, like-minded people, and we're being loud with it. I mean, you're a marketer. We're loud.
You gotta get that attention.
Yeah.
And you do a great job. I saw your social media. You guys have great, you got good looking staff. I mean, they're obviously, they're using the product as well, and they're able to promote the product. You guys did something that was like, I forgot exactly how it was, but like, we're in the anti-aging space or a med spa. Of course we do this. Of course we're vain. And that shit connects, man,
Yeah,
so let's talk about how social media helped your business grow and how do you utilize it?
So it helped greatly. And I tell people this is like dating us, but so if you think back to 2014, when we first started our business, we started the old school way, knocking on doors. We still knock on doors. We tell our franchisees to knock on doors.
So you're knocking what, residential? You're going to B2B?
We're going to B2B.
So you're going to business.
Hey, how you doing? We just wanted to come in here, introduce ourselves, blah, blah, blah. We're getting kicked out of like 30% of them, 40% of them. But then the rest, we're coming in with a gift for people. And so we were just giving people opportunities to try us out, going to Chamber of Commerce meetings, doing that type of stuff, publications.
Yeah.
And at the time, we're trying to broaden our reach. And so we're doing everything that we can. And then Facebook is out there, and Facebook's like, try an advertising package with us. Nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing it. And so again, part of it was you're taking out the paralysis by analysis. I didn't have time for that. So I'm like, we're going to try everything. So like, let's try these Facebook ads. Let's see what happens. I didn't even know what Instagram was in 2014. My partner was on Instagram. He was like, he had tons of followers. I was like, why would anybody want to look at pictures?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I felt the same way. I was thinking about that yesterday because my wife was looking at all that stuff. I'm like, why are you wasting time on that bullshit? Right?
I thought it was stupid.
Yeah, I thought it was stupid too.
So he was like, you need to get on Instagram. He's like, you don't understand. I was like, all right. So I get on Instagram, and then Facebook's like, why don't you try ads with us? Again, nobody is advertising on Facebook, 2014. So I'm like, screw it. Let's do it.
The ads were probably way cheaper back then.
Oh, it was insane.
And you probably had no competition.
And there was none of these like regs and all of these like different loopholes and stuff. Yeah. It was just clean. Pay for ad goes to customer.
Yeah.
So I'm paying for ads with whatever budget we have. And the customer that I'm paying for, the profile walks in the door.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, dude, like let's get more money and put it in this. Mind you, we're burning through cash. We're running out of money. And so we're like, well, we don't have any more money. What are we going to do? Like, okay, well, we'll take a credit card, go run it through. And then we ran out of money some more. And then we're like, well, we need more money because now we're getting patients in, but we're losing money out the back door because we're having to finance all this stuff.
What was it? So what was the cost of acquisition, or just all the equipment,
We're doing so much volume, but we weren't 100% priced right.
Okay.
At the same time.
Were you priced too low, you think?
We were priced a little low, but little did we know it was all working in our favor. As long as we keep those doors open, we were ramping to a place where we were net positive. And so we took out merchant cash advance debt, 35 to 40% interest with a daily payment. And we were like dumping it all into Facebook ads, man.
Wow.
So to answer your question, at that time it was revolutionary, and we were disruptors in the space already because we're not doctors, nurses, or anything like that. And so we're coming at the medical business from a business point of view. These doctors are like charging too much, don't think they need to advertise that much, God complex, whatever. And so next thing you know, man, our store is filling up. We got people sitting on the floor, standing in the hallways, and we just kept on pouring in. So we had massive marketing spend, probably like 14, 15% of revenue at the time. And we were just growing like crazy.
Well, I think the beauty too is that this is the kind of business where there's a residual in the sense that if you get I don't know what the percentage of customers that stay on with you for like, months, years or whatever, but if they come in the doors, they have a good experience, they're going to be on the protocol, right? They're going to buy more next month, and then they're going to refer this person or that person. So you didn't see it right away, but then it was building out like a snowball.
So great point. Most people don't figure that out. I wish my franchisees could understand that more. There's a compounding effect that takes place. And so I never really talk about this too much, but there was a third partner. There's a third partner. And this guy I was introduced to by my partner, and because I had a back injury, and he was a chiropractor. And so while I'm sitting there, the guy's like, well, he's like, you're a banker. You got any business ideas or whatever? I'm like, well, there's this one. He's like, well, if you want to do that, I'll give you some money for that. So I was like, okay. So we took his money, and we're thinking he wants to partner with us. But little do we know, this guy's like going through a midlife crisis. He left his family, got a new girl. He's traveling all the time. So he just starts coming to the office like once a week just to check up on us. Like, hey, how's the business going, guys? And we're like looking at him like defeated, tore up. And we're like, what the hell is wrong with this guy, dude? Like, you're not doing any work. He's going to the Bahamas every weekend. And so, so basically the reason I'm telling this story is because by the time we got to January, we didn't know the seasonal rhythm of the business. And we also weren't expecting the compounding effect because, like you said, everything we do is recurring at about 3, 4, and 6 month intervals.
Right.
So we're like, shit, man, it's January, bro. Little did we know it's seasonal. So business is like, boom. And we're like, dude, this is a problem. Like, we need more money. And so we go to the guy. We're like, hey, we need to go take out another loan. He's like, nah. He's like, this is getting to be too crazy for me, man. He's like, I don't want to go in debt. This is too much work. I just thought we were just opening a wellness clinic. So me and my partner are like, dude, what are we going to do? I'm like, well, maybe we just give him his money back and see if he'll take it. He's like, all right, let's see. So we call him in the office, and we're like, hey, I know you're really stressed. You don't want to go further in debt and all that. We've been able to get, some money together, and we're willing to give you your money back if you'll take it. He's like, okay,
man.
He's like, okay. You're like, that's it. He's like, yeah. So we wrote the check. Boom.
Nice.
Shook hands. Little did we know there's a compounding effect. February, the business takes off. By May, my partner and I are going out and buying new S550 Benzes, matching, you know,
Love it.
and we're balling out of control.
Nice.
And so like, we didn't know that. And it just speaks to the patience, and it speaks to your point that in our business, there's a compounding effect. And so most people don't make it that far because they don't have the resiliency to stay on long enough to reap the reward.
And I love that. I was going to ask you that because obviously any business, people see the net result, right? They see what happened and you know how you're living and what this and that, but they don't see the very beginning when you're like stressed the fuck out. I saw something in the magazine one time about being an entrepreneur, and they show a guy on top of a lion. He looks kind of stressed out, but on the outside, people are like, wow, that guy's a brave motherfucker. But he's thinking like, how the fuck did I get on this line? And how the hell do I get off without getting torn apart? So that's essentially what owning a business is like. You're like doing all this shit, right?
Yeah.
All these ups and downs. But like, you know, I was gonna say, was there a point where you ever felt like you were gonna give up? Like, let's talk about that. Like, how'd you get through it?
I think this was the summer of 2017. We opened up another location, but everything had gone wrong in the process. So we had we'd opened this location, we overhired, the construction took too long, the construction was too expensive, everything you could think of went wrong at one time. And then on top of that, we had a hurricane that came through and cost us like the last like 50K that we had, wiped out. We had nothing. And so I was really struggling with that, man, because, you know, everything, all of our hard work and everything was about to go down the drain. And so basically we opened this new center, had the biggest grand opening ever, like 400 people there, massive party. We're having to put smiles on our faces. Meanwhile, bro, the account's going to zero. There's a bank next door, a regional bank. We go over to them. We had all this merchant cash advance debt, 35 to 40%. They're like, how the hell did you guys get into this? We're like, look, we're growing. The business is growing. We just need to refi this. Just going down from that to like 8-9% would save the business. You're like, too risky. We're like, we're connected to your building. We're right here. They're like, too risky. They're like, if you guys make it to next spring, we will refinance you out of this if you make it and follow all these stipulations. So we had to go in, get micro in the business, and we're working essentially for hardly anything at all and just trying to survive. And that whole summer, I remember crying in the pool with my wife and kids. I had to wear sunglasses everywhere I went because I'm like, we're about to lose it all. We were really going to lose it all. And so every day, you know, my partner and I and our operations manager would sit down and go through every expense to the penny and figure out how we were going to make it to the next day. So like to the T. And so we cut everything, cut all of our overhead, and every day to the T, penny by penny, made it to the next day, made it to the next day. We were fighting to stay open one more day. And we did that all the way until the end of the year and made all of the stipulations that the bank gave us and refinanced that debt. And that's when the business took off. We had 2 locations then, stabilized us, got us into good banking situation. And that was probably one of the hardest times, if not the hardest time I've had. I didn't see how that was necessarily going to work out.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, when you think about it, and when it's where focus goes, energy flows, right? So you focus on the bottom line. And I think every business, I've done that too with my business. You start making money, then you start spending money on dumb shit. You hire someone for a position that didn't need to have a position. Someone else could have done that maybe for an hour a day, or a fractional person, right? So you got to look at the numbers at the end of the day, right? The sales might be coming in, but you might not see the revenue till later. So I mean, hats off to you, because a lot of people wouldn't have made it that far. And at the end of the day, if you're a business owner, you got to look at the damn numbers. You got to look at those numbers, because every freaking single cost, man, it's crazy.
Yeah, it was really, we were looking at the numbers, but we were getting tore up. We discounted the damage that type of debt can do to a business. It's brutal, and it's a slowly eating away at you.
Yeah.
And so we learned a lot. And again, not to push anything religious or anything, but the only thing we knew what to do was to make it through the week, go bury ourselves in whatever we're doing. And then we were meeting up at church on Sundays. And every week the minister just seemed to be right on time, talking about exactly what was going on, and it helped us get through another week, one more week. And so, it builds grit and it builds resilience, and it's something I'm really proud of now. I always tell people, I don't think a lot of people have made it through, because, you know, that's when the blaming starts. That's when the fighting starts. That's when all of that stuff usually starts to happen. And we made it through that without doing that.
Congratulations. It sounds like you have a good support system. Your wife, helped you get through this. It sounds like through the whole situation, man. So
Yeah.
good stuff.
My wife, God, the church, my parents, you know what I'm saying? The kids. I was pulling on everybody. I don't think a lot of people wanted to take my phone calls at that time.
I can imagine.
It was not it was a very negative time.
Wow. Well, congrats on that, man. That's fucking, a lot of people don't make it through that, right? Now that's the other side. You gotta live another day to make it to that other side. And there's always like one moment. I call them like LFG, let's fucking go moments where like, okay, now we're going. Now we got that momentum. We got to ride that momentum.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So when do you think the turning point was for the business? Was it like at 20, after that moment, that was what that line of credit or what you did with the bank that helped kind of push the momentum where you could press the gas a little bit?
We always had a ton of momentum. We just needed to figure out what to do with it and how to be strategic with it. And so it's funny, we have short memory. So after we came out of that, we stabilized everything. Both centers are running profitable. We're making more money. And then, we have a short memory and we're like, let's do something else. Let's do more. And then that's when the franchising came along.
Got it. And let's talk about that too, because that's obviously, there's a lot of franchisees out there and, there's success stories, there's failure stories. So let's talk more about what you guys are doing. Because I find it amazing. You started with that one location, then you got a second location. When did you get the idea to start franchising?
2018.
Okay.
2018. I just talked about this the other day. I always ignored anything in my email that didn't have anything to do with the moment. And so there was a guy in my email who was sending these emails like, hey, I think we need to talk. Your business looks like it'll be a great franchise. I'm like, whatever, spam. Hey, we need to talk. Spam, need to talk. Spam. And then one day I think I'm just like, this guy keeps on hitting me up. And he flashed. He's like, well, I'm talking to one of your competitors to see if they want to franchise. And that's what got me. I was like, whoa. So I called the guy. I was like, what do you mean? I don't understand. They're franchising? He was like, well, maybe. He was like, we've talked to them. He's like, but I think you're the better option. I was like, so he got me with that. So we started to talk and I'm like, all right, I'm like, let me tell my partner. So then my partner gets on. He's like, sounds interesting, but I don't know. So I'm like, look, dude, I told the CEO, it's like, look, we need to meet in person. He's like, well, I don't do that. He's like, my process is like, we do the Zoom call and then I pass you on to somebody else. We're like, bro, if we can't meet you and bring our wives and meet you in person, we're not doing it. Especially in South Florida. Everything's super shady, man. I'm not trusting it.
Yeah.
So we're not about to pay like $150K to somebody we met online through email to franchise our business. We don't know anything about franchising. So we meet this guy. We sit down for about 3 hours at the Hard Rock Hotel here in South Florida. And at the end of the meeting, past the sniff test, we're like, F it, let's try it. Let's see what happens. And so boom, we signed the contract, agreed to do it, did our disclosure, and we got into franchising. This guy found us on the net, got into franchising, and we just went for it. And then that was just like starting the business. We are not franchisors by nature. We were not trained in that. So that was a whole nother issue, that we needed to learn.
I can imagine. So how many franchisees do you have right now under your umbrella?
Right now we have 43 stores open as of today, 3 corporate stores. We open 2 stores every single month nationwide right now. And I think we're like at 140, almost 150 sold. And then we're doing sales once a month. So every month we bring in new candidates and then every month we crank out new open stores.
Congratulations on that. That's incredible to go from barely making it, think you're not going to be able to survive, to have dozens of locations. And I'm sure you're going to continue to grow, right? You're not looking to
hopefully.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, well, that's cool. But again, congrats on that. So what's like the best success story as a franchisee? Like what have you seen in terms of growth, revenue numbers, or anything of that nature? Yeah.
So franchising is an interesting business, just like anything else. I just got off the phone with the guy just now, and it was funny because he's been in franchising for a while, so he hit on the head. He knew the point in which we were going to start making money. That's the thing in franchise, you don't make money out the gate typically, unless you're either doing something wrong or unless you're taking the fees and actually pocketing it. You're basically looking for shared success with your franchisees if you're doing it right. So we get paid a royalty off of these stores. So we're not getting paid unless the franchisee is successful. And so it took 2 years to really get that rhythm and flow. I'd say about 2.5 years of where we're making money from the franchise side. We're actually supporting the franchise side with the corporate store side. And so again, just like anything, it's not overnight. It took a while, and it took a while to build systems and support for these franchisees before we could actually start taking money. So money's coming in, but all that money is going back into the system. And then when it finally hit in about 2.5 to 3 years, we're like, okay, this was a good idea.
Nice.
This is a great idea. But as far as success stories, I mean, our franchisees that follow the process are successful. And I'm very proud of that because in our business, we don't consider ourselves a med spa. We consider ourselves a vitality center, but we have a med spa component and we are in that industry. And so, $1.25 million to 1.5 is like an average performance for a center. And I would say, our franchisees are actually able to get to success in our industry much quicker because they have support, they have, strategies, they have systems in place to do so. So any business person typically knows the statistics out there on a business being successful in the first, it takes 2 to 3 years typically. Most people don't make it that long. Our franchisees are making it and they're growing and they're seeing success. And the ones that are following the process are seeing great success in our space. And so we haven't closed any stores to date.
Wow.
And the franchisees that are following the model are having great success and moving on to second locations and doing things of that nature. So.
Yeah, that's an amazing stat that you haven't closed any stores. I would if you had asked me how many, I figure, there's a certain percentage. I don't know, 5-20%, but
as of March 3/8/24, we have 0 stores closed.
Oh, congrats, man. Hats off to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's talk about, so I'm in digital marketing. I go to a lot of these masterminds and I've been to a couple where you've made money as a business owner, right? And you're looking like, where am I going to put my money, right? And like a lot of times everyone looks into real estate, multifamilies, things of that nature. But I don't think anyone has ever in these masterminds talked about franchising. So what's the typical, like, let's say I wanted to franchise you, like, what's the typical startup cost? And let's talk a little bit about the economics of that too.
Great. So franchising is an interesting industry. It's a tight-knit industry. There's a lot of franchises out there, but the people behind the scenes are few, in my opinion, because, and I'm saying this because I go to conventions, I go to conferences, I'm seeing the same people over and over and over again. And so it's a great space. And I think it's also the best kept secret a lot of the time because a lot of guys who are having successful exits of other businesses, whether it's corporate, retirement, whatever, the ones that have found franchising and that understand how to follow a process, they're buying into investments that are yielding them more than your average real estate return, more than your average S&P return. You got franchises kicking off 20-30% returns, maybe some 40% returns.
For sure.
And so if you're able to buy that, scale it, it's one of the best bang for your bucks out there in terms of an investment. Now, the one thing I tell people though is people try to get intrigued with franchising thinking that this is passive. And you got a lot of guys out there selling these opportunities like passive opportunity. I don't believe in there's any passive opportunity, man. So, if you want to get into franchising and you don't mind rolling up your sleeves and doing some work, at least, and what I tell our franchisees, for at least 18 months, once you hit your stride, the scaling opportunities in franchising are great because you can build one solid team and then open up multiple locations or have multiple licenses, multiple territories. And when you're doing that, it's a beautiful thing. And so I've met some people who are doing things that are really impressive to me that at first were extremely intimidating. Like there's a woman that I know that's on our board. She owns like 51 Planet Fitnesses. And when I met her, I'm like, how the hell do you manage that? But then I know a guy who's like 16 cycle bars or people that own 6 Orange Theories. And all of them tell me the same thing. They invest in a team and they invest in the scaling process. And the lifestyles these people are living are really nice,
Yeah. I could imagine. And when everyone, typical person thinks of franchising, they think of maybe like a Subway or some like a restaurant or something along that lines, And I, for one, didn't think that you could even franchise something like this. I had no clue, but it's amazing that that there's opportunities like that.
Franchise anything. There's a podcast franchise.
Really? I had no clue about that.
Yeah. Podcast franchise. We have in our group, we have painting, plumbing, foam installation, solar.
Wow.
You name it, it's a franchise.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one thing I'm excited about having you on this show is that I'm talking to a lot of digital marketers and everyone's making money in that lane. But once you make money in one lane, there's other lanes you can pivot into. But I think a lot of times people get into lanes they have no clue about. But if you have the right team around you, right, then you can really get into a lane and have a little bit of a leg up. And I think especially as digital marketers or people that are in sales, that's really what it comes down to. I mean, it sounds like you scaled your business a lot for using your salesmanship that you learned at Nissan, right? And having just faith.
Sales was the number one skill, man. Sales. I mean, like, bro, before I worked at Nissan, when I graduated from college, man, I worked at a company called America's Lemonade Stand. We basically we're the guys that come to the kids' school, and I was selling like the fundraiser stuff to the kids, like the trinkets and stuff that the kids go and sell to raise money for like band and all the clubs. So like I'm going into schools, auditoriums, like 400 kids, and I'm like hyping them up to sell and go out into the community and like sell chocolate bars, candy, jewelry, and all this type of stuff. So like that was like the sales training for that was the most brutal. Like they only wanted like people that could go in and just sell in impossible situations. And so I left that, then went to Nissan. That training there was really good though. They take it very seriously. So you're getting top of the line sales training. Then I went into the banking system. Financial industry is giving me the top tier sales training. And then when I went into the financial advising side, that's like the best of the best in terms of they're sending you out and spending thousands of dollars on you with the best sales guys. And they're making you do repetition. So it starts to become a part of you. And so, yeah, sales is everything. People don't understand that. If you can sell, and not in a sleazy way, I'm just saying if you can sell, I mean, that's the essence of everything. Whether you're in politics, anybody that's good at anything can sell.
Politics is sales, right? At the end of the day, and I always say this: I believe sales is a great equalizer in society. Doesn't matter what the fuck background you have. You grew up rich, poor, whatever. You're fat, you're skinny, whatever it is. If you got that ability to hustle and grind, you're going to it's going to happen. You're going to make money. And as long as you're selling the right products, not anything illegal or whatever. You sell something illegal, of course you make money, but you're going to go to jail or whatever. But fucking, to me, sales is a great equalizer, man.
Right.
But what do you think about that?
I believe, I'm a sales guy. So of course
and sales guys are the easiest guys to sell too, right? You notice that? That's what it comes down to, man.
I mean, look, it's been a blessing, man. I at the time I didn't understand what was happening, but the training that we used to get in corporate America for sales was second to none, and it's helped me in all aspects of my life.
I started off at selling. I mean, I went to NYU, right? I was learning marketing and all this stuff, and I was trading stocks out of college. I needed to work, man. I needed to make money. I was making nothing. I answered an ad as a bond broker. I had to make 300 phone calls a day, talk to 50 to 60 people, right? 3 to 5 return the leads. You pitch 10 the next week, 1 will buy. I love those KPIs, man. I still live by that. I train my team with these fucking KPIs, right? But I hated that job, but man, it fucking taught me how to sell. I would go to another job and like I would crush everyone's faces because you're asking people for money over the phone, right? It's like it sounds like each job you had prepared you. Got your little step up on another run.
My job out there, I was working 6 to 7 days a week at the car dealership, and I got a job at Wells Fargo Financial, which was like a step below the bank. And I'm pushing like 12% mortgages on the phone with like 10 points. Yeah. 10 points. Yeah. All day. $100 a day, $100, 100, boom, boom. I got one, and you're selling in a pin, So like your buddies behind you are judging you, the guy next to you judging you, like everybody's on display. And so like, it was that kind of environment, and everybody's talking shit. Your boss is like, you freaking loser, you pussy, you can't make any silly, Like that's how that was.
Listen, I love hearing this shit, man, because that's the world I grew up in. Yeah. It makes me feel like I'm 20 years younger.
There was no HR. Yeah. There was a whole bunch of 20-year-olds in the office. You're like, you're a pussy. Look at all these calls I made. You suck. You suck. You suck. You're a bitch. It's like that's how we were growing up.
Old school shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And so now you take that skill and you go into to someone who hasn't had that kind of training, and you just eat them alive.
Oh yeah.
They can't compete.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, I love it, man. I always say sales is the foundation of any freaking business. I see, I'm a big believer. I've done a lot of Tony Robbins events, and I was at one of them called Business Mastery. And it was like, it's not the company that has the best product. You could have a mediocre product. It's a company that has the best sales and marketing at the end of the day. Yeah. But I think you combine it with a really good product, and it sounds like what you have. And I see one thing when I research you and the company, you guys have phenomenal reviews online. I think you have like 1,500 reviews, 4.9.
We're the highest reviewed in the industry.
Yeah, that's a testament, man, because everyone goes online, right? They look at Google and they see what's going on. So I would expect with 1,500, 2,000 reviews, whatever it is, maybe you have like 4.2, 4.3, which is still good, but 4.9, like how do you do that, man? How are you able to sustain
every single patient back? Every patient that's ever had an issue gets a call.
When you say issue, mean like they had a complaint?
So if someone complains,
yeah,
they're getting a call. Like it's not like your standard business now, or for the last 8 years, nobody calls you back, or you don't have a voice. If a patient calls or complains, they're getting a call back, and they're not getting a call back just from someone who doesn't care. Getting a call back from an owner. I'm gonna call that patient and be like, okay, what's going on? And what we found is that we're going to offer the best service that we can every single day. That's ingrained into our business. That's who we are, as long as we're involved in the business. But if something slips through the crack, or even if someone's crazy, because I tell people all the time, we're in the vanity business. Yeah. We got a lot of crazy people, man, but even if they're crazy, what we found is that just by picking up the phone, a lot of these people just want to be heard.
Exactly.
So I sit on the phone. I don't care how crazy it is. I'll listen to a woman sit there and
they're
cry.
Paying your bills, right? That's what they're supporting our lifestyle. That you gotta fucking listen to them.
Yeah. And I'll give them a solution, and I'll stand behind the solution. So I'll always call people, tell them, look, if you will give us another chance, I want you to come back. I'll meet you there. I'll sit in the room. As long as you promise me, if you enjoy the experience, that you'll turn your review around for us. Nice. And so do stuff like that. Or look, if you don't want to come back, I'll make it right. I'm going to refund you. It's going to be at a great loss to us, but we're going to do the right thing. Make sure you're happy. If you're happy, we're happy. And that's how we achieve that. And so we're not fighting with the patients. We're not going there. We just want to keep the business going, and we want everybody to be happy.
Yeah, and I think that really comes out of word of mouth, right? One negative review will go to like 20, like so many people see that on that. Yeah. Hundreds of people, right? So, and it sucks. A lot of the positive reviews, it works out. I read somewhere that if someone back in the day, you saw a bad movie, and you saw a good movie, only 5 people find out about it. If someone saw a bad movie, 20 people find out about it. It's that multiplier effect, right? So you want to cut that out as soon as you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love it. I love that you have that proactiveness, and that's old school at the end of the day, because a lot of people, and especially like the younger generation, I feel like they're afraid to pick up the damn phone.
They're so screwed.
You see that?
They're so screwed. They overthink it.
Yeah.
Oh, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? What if this happens? It's like, again, like you said, it's old school, but old school is where the money is. I don't care what. Look at all these kids, man. There was a time 2 years ago, I think, during the pandemic, where maybe you might have thought something was wrong with you because you like got a kid selling NFTs. And they're pumping and dumping the stock market and Robinhood and all this dumb stuff. And you look back, none of that stuff worked. None of that stuff's worth anything. All of them lost their money, and now they're lost. They don't have skills. They don't have training. They don't have confidence. And they're not able to function in this way. So old school will kill them all the time. I don't care what tools they think they have. Old school, people were doing business in the biblical times, in Egyptian times, medieval times. And all the same business principles still apply today. The marketing principles they used in medieval times still work today. You still had somebody back then that had a blacksmith shop, and he sent his son around to tell everybody that he had the best swords in the town and come here. And that guy probably did way better than the guy that thought, oh, my swords are the best. They'll come to me. No. So it's always the same. It's never changed. And don't let anybody convince you otherwise. And so, I'm super down on these kids, not because I'm like older and I'm a grumpy old man. It's because they're just not even built the same. They can't hang, you know, in almost any capacity most of the time. There's very few of them that can actually come into a workplace, add value, have grit, have discipline, confidence, and all these things that it takes to be a successful salesperson or anything.
I fucking love what you just said. I hope everyone listen to that again, because it's so true. I'm 44, right? I've been in the business world for we're the same age. Yeah. So we come from that same era, right? But man, I had to make 300 fucking phone calls, but there was a math to it. It worked. 300 calls, 50 to 60 people you talk to, 3 to 5 leads, 1 out of 10. It was amazing. And you call those 1 out of 10 back, one closes, half of them will buy again, rinse and repeat. Right. And right now, I agree. A lot of younger generation gets all stuck in analysis by paralysis. You just got to fucking make a decision. We got to fucking go.
They don't even understand the law of numbers.
Yeah. It's a real law.
Yeah. It's just volume, guys. It's volume. If you have high activity level, the percentage of chance of success it's always going to be there. It doesn't matter how skilled you are. It's just at bats. I tell people this all the time, even with like girls, like back in the day, like my friends will always be like, well, how do you meet all these girls? Bro, this is a numbers game. You know, I'm just going to keep asking.
I would say the same shit.
Yeah. Just keep asking. You know, you don't want, okay. Hey, what's up? My name is Carlton. Can I get your number? No. Hey, what's up? My name is Carlton. Can I get your number? No. The 5th time, I'm going to get a yes. 10th time, yes. Yeah. And then boom. You know what I mean? You guys are like trying to figure out that one perfect moment to talk to this girl, whatever. And then it's like, it's not happening. Dude.
Yeah.
You know, so people just get so caught up and they don't understand that high activity levels kick off a percentage of success all the time. Or you could also be successfully in a bad situation if you're doing bad activity, but whatever, you know, you apply the same math.
I love to say, even a blind squirrel finds a nut eventually, right? Just keep fucking be looking and you'll find some shit happen. It'll come to you.
Absolutely.
I love it. This shit gets me excited. So let's talk about something else related to sales. We talked about sales, right? You have a higher, I think higher than usual or higher than normal workforce, higher female to male ratio in your workforce, right?
Yes,
so is
absolutely.
it 60 to 40%, you said?
Well, the workforce
And your employees, like in your
employees, no, it's like, I'd say like 15%, man.
it's 15% female?
We're heavy workforce wise, like employees.
No, I mean you and your company forever.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of our staff,
and
people who staff our franchises is female dominant, man.
So it's 85% then you're saying?
I would say at least 85 to 90%.
Okay, wow,
man.
okay.
It's female dominant. Our patient base is more like 60% female, 40% male.
Got it.
But our staff and franchise staff, it's the female dominant.
It makes sense. And if the bulk of your patients are female, right? They could speak to them. And truthfully, if 40% are men, I mean, the question I was going to ask you is about the difference between a female salesperson or a male salesperson, like, or how is it managing so many females? So like, what's been your experience? Any crazy stories?
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's a lot of learning, a big learning curve. I think that could be a trap in our business. Our business is very sexy. It's very glamorous. It's something, it can get you in trouble if you're not careful. And so you got to get used to it. I think it's another thing to learn in our industry. You're going to be, if you're a heterosexual man, you're going to be working around a lot of women. You need to get over that. You need to get some blinders on, because it can mess you up in the business. And it's something that it just, it takes some adjusting. Females work well in our business. I have nothing negative to say. There are some female characteristics I think that are interesting in the workforce that I think many women would agree with, in terms of camaraderie, in terms of maybe getting along at periods of time, stuff like that. Those are things you need to navigate. I think working in probably like sales background with guys, it's been a little different. People aren't as sensitive. You can mess around a little bit more. There's a little bit more camaraderie there, I believe. That's just been my perspective, but it hasn't been a bad thing. I just want to work with competent people. And so that's all I care about. Our patients will accept female or male assistants, whether it's in aesthetics, whether it's in their wellness. They want to deal with competency, meaning that they want people that are going to be empathetic, compassionate about why they've come into us, and people that actually are going to speak not just from theory, but experience. And that's what we offer. Instead of going the traditional medical route, we can tell you how it affects our mom, our dad, our husband, our wife, and our sister, and us. And then you can go talk to the doctor, and he or she can give you that medical part. But we're just going to tell you straight up, like, this is what it's going to do. This is how you're going to feel. How do I know? Because this is how I feel, and this is how my friends feel. And that's something that people appreciate. So it hasn't been complicated to a point of it being a turnoff, but we are heavily dominant with females in our industry.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, and they all seem happy. The rates what I saw on social media, they seem happy. So that's cool.
Knock on wood. Yeah. We that's been an emphasis though.
Yeah.
Try to keep people happy, man. Who wants to show up somewhere where you can't be happy, man?
Yeah. Well, you have a good product too. At the end of the day, the product promotes health and wellness. It's energy, right? So let's talk about the correlation with health, wellness, being in shape, and business. Like, how does it help you out? How do you think it correlates to everyone else that's out there?
I think it is the foundation for everything. That is why personally for me, I know my partner and several people I know, it is a non-negotiable for us. So like, for instance, you're not going to think I'm crazy. A lot of people think I'm crazy. They're like, hey, can you do an 8:30 meeting? Or can you meet me at 10 o'clock? Or we're going to start the meeting at 9:30, 10:30. I'm not meeting anybody or anything at those times. Why? Because I'm in the gym. I'm not breaking it for anybody. I don't care.
Discipline.
I don't care what's going on. I don't care how important the person is. No, that meeting needs to start at 10:30. And it's because of what you're asking. It is so important. I know that if I can keep focused on this, that I can be my optimal self, whether it's sales, whether it is in servicing, our patients, whether it's in being a good listener or coach or employer, husband, father, everything. If you can't control that, and if you don't have a baseline for that, you can't be the best at any of those things. And I need to be the best at all those things. I owe people my time. I owe my family my time. I owe myself my time. And I don't want to make things harder for myself. So people are going to treat you a lot of time how you treat yourself. And so, and also even in my industry, it's very important because I'm speaking to these things. So If I come up to you with a head full of wrinkles, why would you buy Botox for me? Makes no sense.
Exactly.
If my skin is breaking out, why would you buy skincare for me?
Yeah.
You know, if I'm telling you how to put on muscle and I don't have any muscles, why would you listen to me? It doesn't make any sense. So we're simply just doing what makes sense. And we're giving people, look, well, I've been on a whirlwind for 10 years. I'll do 5 of these type of situations a day, go to work, go to a meeting, go to a event afterwards, do it all over again, 13 days straight, man. That's a testament to the products and services that we offer, mixed with an attention to nutrition and well-being.
Yeah.
And I'm not even the best at that. My partner is like way more disciplined than me. He doesn't like drink or anything. I'll have a drink. I'll have a drink. I'll have some fun, do stuff like that. My diet's probably like a 70-30. So, I mean, I'll eat like this much pancakes on Saturday morning, eat a pizza on Sunday. Like I'll do those things, but most of the time it's dialed in. And it's a superpower because it allows you to outwork and beat everybody. And that's what we're here to do. I want to beat everybody.
Absolutely.
That's in my radius. If you're in my arena, I have to be competitive with you.
Yeah. I read somewhere that 90% of success is just showing up. So if you could show up and be at the place that your competition's not at, right? They're sleeping, you're there. You're going to get that deal, or people will remember you. You're going to make that connection that they're going to be missing, right? And I think that comes down to having optimal health. And what you said about optimal health, you want to optimize yourself. You're going to be working out. It gives you that edge. In business, we all want an edge. In life, you want an edge. The edge is the fucking health.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how much the edge, that health, that edge you get from health will give you more money. It'll help you make more, have a better relationship, attract a better partner, right? So,
because you got to think, and I tell this to people all the time, you got to think, if you're your best you, but the guy at the street has to take a nap at 12 o'clock, you know what I'm saying? Because, he's passed out after lunch or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Or if he's breathing heavy, whatever, bro, it's the advantage. They just literally can't compete at the same level. And you start taking inches and inches and inches away, you're taking market share, and that's how you win. And so you need every advantage out here in today, especially if you're not, like multi-millionaire, billionaire, your greatest asset is the elbow grease and the energy you're able to produce for as long as possible behind whatever your idea or whatever your business is to win and be successful. So
I love that. All great words. So another thing here, this is very important. I think a lot of businesses, they start a business and they never think about exiting their businesses or taking chips off the table, right? So you actually exited or taking some chips off the table, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Were you on Shark Tank or something with Kevin O'Leary? Was that part of all this?
Kevin O'Leary, yeah.
Was that part of the whole sequence and all that? Or
It was part of the strategy.
Okay.
Part of the strategy. We did 2 different seasons with him, but again, I'm a marketer, salesperson, marketer, and so when that opportunity came, at first my partner was like, because they wanted us. They were like, "Do you guys have a problem?" They're like, "What do you mean?" We were like, "Do you guys like fight about anything?" And one of the reasons we've had some success, we don't fight a lot about anything. And if we have a disagreement, we try to be amicable about it. So they were like, "No, we need a dispute." And we're like, "Well, what are we disputing right now?" So we brought them a dispute. Like, I liked growing our stores through corporate, and Dennis kind of like more doing the franchise thing. So I was like, "Well, that's a dispute because these franchisees are getting on my nerves, and I want to do more corporate stores because I can control that. We could control our growth." So we went on and kind of battled about that at first. Then Mr. Wonderful, as soon as that aired, was like calling us, and we're meeting with him because he wanted to do an acquisition of the company. Didn't work out, but he called us back for another season. And at that point, I was up to here in terms of frustration with all the work that we had on our plate. But that work wasn't what was bothering me. It was that we had licensed our baby to some people who were not taking it as seriously as we did. And it was starting to really wear on me. And I was starting to be kind of like not a nice person. I talked to franchisees. Some of them, I couldn't hold back my frustration. And so I was like, look, this is not healthy. And I'd like to be around for a while. I got kids. It was affecting my health. And so the next time we went on there, our argument was, should we sell or should we stick it out? And my partner was like, stick it out. And I was like, let's sell a portion because I want to monetize my time. And so I wanted to de-risk a little bit as well. And so that was the catalyst for us putting ourselves on the market and running a process. And so we did exit majority, but we're still both involved with the business, and we're both still owners of the business, but at a smaller degree. And hoping that by bringing on CEOs and by bringing on more capital, we'll be able to expand our smaller percentage much greater and much quicker than we would by doing it the hard way.
Oh, I love that. I don't know what percentage of companies actually sell. I was part of that process about a little bit over a year ago, signed some LOIs. We thought we were going to exit. Earnings went the other way. Our valuation went down like 50%. So we decided not to do it. But I remember getting close. I'm like, shit, this might really happen. Like, did you ever think you would sell the company? When you started this, did that ever cross your mind? I'm going to exit? Because I don't think it didn't cross my mind. I'd even be near that shit.
I just wanted to pay my mortgage. I literally just wanted to pay my mortgage. That was it.
Yeah.
I was so happy. I was like, oh my God, like I was like the first time I like really bought like a new car, and I started being able to pay my bills. And then I was able to like upgrade my hotel stays. And like, I was like, okay, like this is good. Like that was great. I couldn't see that far. And then we opened a second location. I was like, oh my God, like I couldn't see any further than that for a while. But then when we got into the franchising after about a year and really getting into the industry and understanding it, yes, then we're building for some sort of exit. That's the purpose at that time. And so, yes, after probably year 6 or 7, 100% a sell was on my mind 24/7.
That's awesome. I love the whole story, from where you started to where you exited literally. So let's talk about after you exit. Now, what goes on? I mean, it sounds like you're working, you're doing stuff. That must be interesting. Like after you sign the paperwork and everything inked, you got your portion. Like, what was like the next day like, and what's your life like now? Because obviously it changes, right?
I thought that I was going to be able to take a vacation. And my thought process was that I was going to be able to take some time by myself, literally go travel by myself, backpack somewhere, like Batman, like when like Christian Bale went out and like, met the ninjas. Like I thought I was going to go do that. Next day I'm at work, dude.
Wow.
I went home. My wife, I got the wire, looking at the wire. My wife went out and bought like some crazy expensive bottle of rum. She made me a rum and Coke. I drank it with her, and I went to bed and went back to work the next day.
Oh,
that was it.
That's amazing. That's a testament to who you are. I mean, it's in your DNA, right? You want to.
I wanted it to. That's not what I wanted to do, but yeah.
But just
And I still haven't taken a real break yet.
Wow.
And but it was a weird feeling. It's still a weird feeling. It's very weird. And I giving up control, very difficult. I was sober minded when I did it. I knew it was going to be an issue for me after doing it, but it's still not the most comfortable feeling. And I'm still learning how to work through that. And I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do next. So I'm really trying to spend a lot of time organically figuring that out, which is part of the reason I'm here right now. I get to meet people like yourself, learn about what's happening in the world. Cause I don't know last 10 years, I don't know what the hell is going on other than Forever Young. My head's down. I don't know about anything but Forever Young. Like everything in my world is like Botox, testosterone, and franchising. And so now I'm learning, and I think I have the energy to do something again, and I'm trying to figure out what that is. And I'm looking hopefully to do another exit, hopefully sooner than later, because again, like I told you, I'm still owner in Forever Young. And really nothing else has changed. I bought a dumb car that I'll probably sell. And
what did you get?
I bought a Ghost.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought a Ghost.
Beautiful.
And
I think I saw online. You had the Instagram on that with was it 50 Cent? Or was it 50 Cent? Window Shopper? There's a song you put on. That's it. There's a white one?
No. I got a black one.
Oh, black one. Okay.
Yeah. But
that was a fire post, by the way.
I
love 50 Cent. So I was like, I need to do that shit.
It's like you think you want these things and then you get them and it's like, it's more annoying. It just sits in my garage. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get it dirty. So other than that, nothing's changed. Haven't done anything extravagant. Only thing extravagant I've done is my wife. We haven't had people over the house in 10 years because it's only been a place to sleep. So you saw my house, you'd be like, this is the guy from Forever Young. Like we only sleep there. All we do is sleep there. So she's like, can we actually like fix up the house? So we're like fixing up our courtyard.
Nice.
That's it.
That's awesome. That's a good present, right? All that hard work. You're hustling, man. Hustling for all these years. And now you get to reap some of those rewards until you find out the next thing you want to do.
Still hustling, man.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. This is very eye-opening, and I love the story. I'm sure it's going to resonate with the audience. How can people find out more about you?
Yeah. So right now I don't have a website, working on a website, but it's Carlton Washington on Instagram. I use it as my business card. So it's Carlton, _ Carlton, CARLTON Washington at Instagram. And I use my LinkedIn as well. If you want to find me right now, I'm kind of in a place where I'm doing a little bit of consulting, but it's for free. So like
Nice.
people want help in franchising, small business tips, stuff like that. I do that. I don't have anything for sale. I'm just trying to figure out what my next steps are. And I'm just using podcasting as a way to meet people, like-minded people and figure out what opportunities are out there. So that's where you can find me.
I love it.
Oh, and, by the way, I guess I got to promote the company too. It's at foreveryoung.com with the number 4, foreveryoung.com. If you guys also want to try a service, something like that, hit me up. Always down to do a comp service. We're in 15 states and love to have you guys visit our store.
I love it. It's growing like crazy. That's all I know. To go from one location to 40, 50 locations, I'm sure next time I see you, you probably have 75, 100. We'll see where it goes.
Yes, sir.
Knock on wood. Well, good shit. Good to have you in the show.
Appreciate it, man.
Love having you.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go, baby.
Let's go. Dude.